Welcome back to my channel and welcome to a November property market update, and what a month we have had in the property and economic landscape. So what we're going to discuss in this month's update is, I need to bullet point these out because I'll probably won't remember them all because there's so much going on, is we're going to talk about the quitting PM. We're going to talk about the new PM. We're going to talk about the Bank of England predicting a recession, interest rates going up again, government lies around the inflation levels. We're going to talk about house prices, of course, and the predictions on that and what's going on in the mortgage market. And more importantly, make sure you hang around to the end, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell you why it's going to be a massive mistake if you try and hang around and time the market at the moment. If you got interest in property and building wealth over the long term, I'm going to share with you at the end why if you hang around now, you're going to make a massive mistake. So if you're in a rush as well, we're going to timestamp these along the bottom so you can rush to the parts that you want to rush to, but make sure you rush to the part at the end at bare minimum. And in a minute, just for the time, hold up. In the meantime, make sure you rush to it, that like button. So we had Liz, no Truss, and Kamikaze Kwarteng absolutely tanked the markets and really breed distrust. Panda its lowest it has been against the dollar ever. And then she come out last month with this:
I am a fighter and not a quitter.
I am resigning as leader of the Conservative Party.
So the non-quitter quit. So then we've got a new guy for the role, which is Rishi, and he has stepped in. And this is what the markets are, their reaction to that at the moment. So following weeks of economic turmoil, new Prime Minister Rishi Sunak, somebody criticised me for saying that before, apologies with my pronunciation, declared at the end of a political and economic uncertainty. It appears markets have begun to rally behind Liz Truss's successor after her mini budget triggered weeks of financial chaos. The British Chambers of Commerce said that the businesses need to be certain on the energy support while boosting international trades and exports. So the market has responded pretty confident to him. He also put back his new announcement for his new mini budget, if that is going to be as mini as Liz Truss, time will tell. But he pushed that back beyond the point of Bank of England's planned interest rate review, which was a bit of a dangerous thing, but it also showed that the markets got confidence in him, because the markets didn't wobble. The pound's back up pretty strong against the dollar again. Well, not strong, but it's stronger than it was with Liz Truss. And the market's not reacted negatively to him pushing that back, even though it's a bit of a risk. And the Bank of England couldn't make their decision based on what his new policy was going to be going forward with his budget. But the Bank of England have come out and said that the UK, they believe the UK is going to go into its longest and hardest recession it's ever been in history. They're predicting this will last 18 months to 2 years. And why are they predicting this? And what are they doing about this? So the first thing, before we get into why they're predicting this, let's talk about what they're doing about this. At the moment, the Bank of England hikes interest rates by 0.75% points to 3%, the 8th rise since last December and the biggest since 1989. So what does this mean for finances? So what they're predicting it will mean, it will potentially give us a recession. And if this is potentially going to give us a recession, why are the Bank of England doing this? Well, one of the main drivers, there's a number of drivers obviously, but one of the main drivers behind the Bank of England's decision behind raising interest rates, putting more pressure on homeowners and households and people with debts and businesses, the reason behind them doing it is because of inflation is running out of control. In this report, it says UK inflation soars back to 10.1% in September as the cost of living crisis continues to hit household budgets. But look, from Damian Talks Money, he's got a really interesting point on this. Have a watch of this, and it's a massive point of it. And I'll put a link to his channel in below, because this guy's definitely worth following.
Compares what inflation is according to the Federal Reserve in America now versus what it would have been if they still used the ways of calculating in the 80s and 90s. So the inflation figure in America at the minute is being quoted as 9-10%, but if you use the same measuring stick that they used in the 80s, it would be closer to 17%. I mean, it's a hell of a difference, isn't it?
You're looking at an actual CPI that is 7 or 8% above what the government's reporting.
But why would a government want to make inflation look lower? A government will use whatever technology is available to them to combat their primary enemy, their own population. We could sum up the incentive to make inflation look lower than it actually is using two words: cost and power. That's 3 words. Many of the costs of governments are linked to inflation, or the inflation set out in this CPI data. Benefits, pensions, social security as they call it in America, or even things like inflation-linked bonds. So you can see why they would be incentivized to make it look like inflation was less to save them money.
Oh, are the government leading us with lies to protect the pensions and protect their purses? Look, I'm not here to judge whether that is a conspiracy or not. But in my opinion, inflation is definitely seeming a lot higher than 10.1%. Stick in the comments if you agree. What effect is all this economic landscape having on UK housing market, on the prices? The price is the main indicator. There's so much sentiment linked to the UK housing or the economy with the UK housing market. So let's have a look. Rightmove, the biggest platform out there, have come out and said some movers, new movers, pause while agreed deals rush through to get completed. So these agreed deals are getting rushed through to get completed because people are trying to stay on this interest rate. It was so uncertain that, where the interest rate was going to go. It also goes on to say the average price of property coming to the market rose by 0.9%. This was up £3,398 in the month to a new record of £371,180. £58, but this is asking price, not sold price. There's a massive difference between asking price and sold price, but that seems to still going up. The thing with property market is it takes a while for home owners to really this is why there's always a lag in the property market in comparison to the stock markets, the crypto market, the bond markets, because properties take 3 months to go through legals, and people hold on sentimentally, is that even a word? But people hold on to their sentiment on their price. They've got a lot of ties. It's very different to a stock price going up and down. It's their home. They're hanging on to that, and they're believing it's worth more money. And when we look at the Nationwide, actually the biggest lender in the UK, report on actual sold prices, not on asking prices. So they've said a sharp slowdown in annual house prices growth in October. They go on to say annual UK house prices growth slows to 7.2% in October from 9.9% in September. Prices fall 0.9% month on month for the first monthly decline since July in 2021. So prices sold compared to house price, asking price, is very two different things. So if you look at this chart from the Nationwide, on there it shows you the headline figures on there that I just discussed, and at the bottom it says the average price has dipped. So in September it's 272,259, and this month, well in October, sorry, it was 268,282. So there's a slight adjustment backwards, and this is not seasonally adjusted, they're saying. So there is a seasonal dip up and down, but they're not adjusting it for that. They're just saying this is what the price was then and this is what the price is now. So the big question for the UK housing market is, will house prices fall? So this article goes on to say one of the key drivers of house prices is what people can borrow. So high borrowing costs will have a big impact. The property website Zoopla said this week that the labour market remains strong and that the supply of available homes was below average, creating a scarcity that would support the pricing. But research from property tech firm iPlace Global claimed 16% of homeowners are looking to sell up in the next year. So again, this is why it's important to triangulate your information. If you read one place, say it's going to fall. You read another place, it says it's going to still grow. Another place said it's going to sustain and still defy gravity. So make sure you triangulate that information. But what's effect on the mortgages? Borrowing cost does have effect on the cost of homes. If it's cheap lending and there's cheap money and a good availability of borrowing, then that does help force prices up. So we look here, look, Britain, 2/3 of households own their properties and live in. Half of these houses are still paying off their mortgage. So the remaining third of houses are renters and split fairly equally between private and social housing. So when you look at mortgaged houses compared to unmortgaged houses, unencumbered, 47% are mortgaged and 53% are non-mortgaged. So it's only going to affect, the mortgage element of it's only going to affect about half of the market. And bearing in mind, a lot of the market are on quite long-term fixes at the moment. So out of all them properties, there is quite a few coming to end of their terms next year, but nowhere near like a large percentage of the properties that are in the UK market. So will that have an impact? People going on to higher interest rates, of course, but not as big as I think some people would anticipate. But how is this affecting the prices anyway? Look, Kaiser Kwarteng's disastrous mini budget unleashed chaos on the financial markets. The average 2-year fixed home loan surged from 4.74% on September 23rd to 6.65% on October the 20th. So they started pricing in this uncertainty into the market. But then, since we've had the new rate rise announcement at 3%, Bank of England have told the banks they don't need to go so aggressive. And already we've had a number of lenders, a number of lenders cut their mortgage rates as banks are urged to take action. Halifax and Virgin Money were among the first to announce mortgage rate reductions. So the reason it went up so high last month is because there's so much uncertainty. The fact that Rishi's in now and he's settled it to some degree, obviously we don't know what his new budget is going to be like, but it's settled it for the time being to some degree. And the Bank of England jumps it up dramatically, so they showed a sign to the markets to say, look, we're willing to do what the rest of the world's doing, because America put it up 0.75%, Europe's central bank put it up 0.75%. One of the things that UK got criticised is increasing slower than the rest of the world. So I think they're trying to put this out there to settle the markets. But and as I said, we don't know what Rishi's going to do. We don't know the responses to that. But at the moment, the banks are now, they're not pricing in the uncertainty, basically. The biggest question I get asked at the moment is, should I wait till the market crashes? And look, there's a straight, easy answer for this for me, and that's an absolute no. And this is why you definitely do not want to be waiting around for a market crash. Other signs there that we're going to get a correction or potentially a crash? Yeah, potentially. But as I just said a minute ago, is we do not know the responses of Rishi, the policymakers. If Rishi will get voted in again, we do not know all these outside factors that's going to happen. So none of us are going to be able to time the market. And Warren Buffett famously says, and I say this all the time in the market will beat the market. So being in the market at the moment is what's going to ultimately beat you and getting the right style deals. You want to base your property investing on fundamental property investment strategies, not based on where you think the market's going to go. And this is why you want to be being active now, because even if you did think the market's going to drop, what you want to be doing is pricing that drop into your offering, asking price at the moment. You're not being cheeky. If you've got a vendor trying to sell to you, you're speaking to a estate agent, you say, look, the market's so uncertain at the moment, I can only give this amount, and this is the reason why. But if I'm going to buy at the moment with these higher interest rates and the market looking like it's going to dip, I need to get some protection within there. Understand if that don't work for the vendor or work for you, vendor. But for me at the moment, that's the only way I'm willing to move forward. If you continuously do that at the moment, the likelihood of getting a deal is you might get one. It's not going to be high. You've got to look at your area and factor in how much you think they will dip. So if you think you're going to have a 10%, 15, 20% dip, make sure you factor that in. You think there's going to be a 20% dip, but you're offering at 30% below market value. Don't particularly offer and offend people. Say, look, I'm only probably going to pay around this price, which is, say it's 100k property. I'm only probably going to pay around 70k. So just let me know if you change your position or change your mind on wanting to sell quicker. And then just keep an eye on it and follow up with them. Because ultimately, more deals get done in the follow-up at any time anyway. But what you've got to imagine, as things get worse and worse and worse and worse, what will happen is people's confidence get lower and lower and lower. And if you're the person on their mind, you're going to be the first person they come to when they go, right, I better sell this. But what you want to be, if this crash is coming that you anticipate, you want to be the person that they phone up first when that comes. You don't want to be trying to get in that queue of buying their mind space when it comes and trying to reach out to them. So I hope you found this useful. Please put in the comments what you're doing if you want any further support. My why is to live on my terms. My mission is to help as many people live on their terms, using property as a vehicle to do that. So please share this out. If you've not done it already, hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, make sure you hit the bell icon. We put out videos like this all the time. Really does help the channel, really helps me out and gives me feedback on what you guys want. Please share it to somebody if you think they'll find this valuable. And remember, if you don't evolve your ideas, you're never going to live on your own terms. So evolve your ideas, live on your own terms, and have an amazing day.